recently we actually got the Overwatch 2 Roadhog rework, which actually went into the game about 2 days ago. You guys aren't going to be seeing this until probably like a Friday or Saturday, but when I'm recording this, it's been about 2 days. He actually just got buffed actually as well a few hours ago. When I'm recording this, they actually buffed one of his abilities, which we're going to talk about. We're kind of going to just talk about how Hog actually, if it actually changed, and what the rework really did and what it really says for reworks going forward and that type of thing. Because honestly, I don't think anything really changed with Roadhog, and I think just as a player that got to top 500 in Overwatch 1, mainly playing Roadhog and I guess Diva, those were the only two tanks I actually played at the time to actually get to top 500 back in that game. And being a former top 500 Roadhog player, like I genuinely think Roadhog is actually worse after the rework, and he really wasn't that great even before the rework, like recently either, especially at the start of like Season 7 before the rework. So we're going to talk about it. First of all, I'm going to throw it on screen right now for you guys right now. Already it should be on screen, but for some reason they changed the bindings. He got a new ability. Roadhog's alternate fire is pretty much gone from his scrap gun. They gave him an alternate ability, and for some reason they took all the bindings away, and the bindings are all different for controller players. So if you are playing on controller, change your controller bindings for Roadhog for what I have on screen right now, like down in the corner. I don't know what, it depends what controller you're playing on if you're on Xbox or PS4, but I play on Switch, so if you guys are Switch players, I would change the bindings to what I have. It makes it a lot easier, and it's pretty much the same bindings to where he was before, because they switched a bunch of shit around for some reason. They changed his take a breather like button to like a different button to his alternate fire button, and like they switched a few things around, which made it really weird. So pretty much what this binding does, it just makes it the same as he was before. Apart from like having the alternate fire, you just have a new ability now. So let's talk about Hog. Pretty much what they did, with his main fire, like they took it away and actually made it so where he doesn't do nearly as enough like medium range damage. So now it's pretty much like a shotgun spread that does damage per pellet, and it has pretty much not really even nearly enough range. Like its range is like not even nearly as good. Like this is about maybe like the max range you can be at, like it's around about right here. And that's if you land all your pellets, which on a moving target you're not really going to be able to do, especially like in your quick play or even like your ranked games. Pretty much what they did with the alternate fires, they took it away, and they gave him more damage at closer range, but like now he has no poke potential at all at like medium to long ranges. So he's strictly a tank now that has to fight at close range. Otherwise, he doesn't really do anything, and he has no presence in the game at all, which I think is first, like just starting it off, is really, really bad. They changed his hook is pretty much the same. I don't think they actually changed his hook. They changed Take a Breather. Now, what they did with actually Take a Breather is they actually recently buffed it. At least when I'm recording this, they buffed it a few hours ago. They buffed the DR. It was 30 up to 40% DR. They reduced the cooldown from 12 seconds to 10 seconds if you fully deplete your resource bar. And then I think they changed I think it was the health you get from it from 450 up to 500. So pretty much what it is, they changed it to kind of the same thing as like what Bastion used to have for like his self-repair, if you guys remember that in Overwatch 1. But it's kind of the same thing, and you have to hold the button down. You have a 1 second cooldown between using it as well. You can either hold the button down to get as much heals as you want until the resource meter runs out and then it goes on to a 10-second cooldown, or you can just kind of like feather it like this and like just use it between like 1 second cooldowns to actually kind of get your healing, but you're not getting nearly enough heals at that point. Most of the time it's kind of just to top you off. I still think the old Take a Breather was a lot better, just mainly because it had more DR and it was a faster heal. That's kind of just the main thing about it, which it really makes you bad. Like the one thing that I think a lot of people aren't really talking about with Hog is like a lot of his checks got like 1,000,000 times better with this rework, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Reaper is 1,000,000 times better versus Hog, and you pretty much have no checks at all to Reaper now. Reaper 100% wins every 1v1 versus you now, because he can just stall out your resource bar, and he's able to get close to you, and he's able to pretty much just do more damage than you because you no longer have the amount of DR and like the amount of burst healing you once had with Take a Breather, which is the main problem. Another thing that got really buffed and for this with Roadhog being reworked is Ana. Ana nade, I think Ana probably like legit 100% hog, checks hog. There is nothing you can actually do to an Ana that anti-nades you now and just sleep darts you. You're pretty much guaranteed dead. There's no counterplay at all, and before you could be at least like proc Take a Breather to get your DR, and you can no longer do that anymore because your DR is just not high enough. It's only 40%, which is not nearly enough. Even if you were anti-naded, you wouldn't get the heals, but you'd still be able to survive most of the time to either be helped by your teammates or get out of danger to where you'd able to get out of the anti-healing and be able to heal yourself with supports or something. So I think those two are like the biggest things that got buffed. I think Mei also got a million times better. Mei is incredibly good versus Hog, and it's even more so. It really is, because all she needs to do is just stall out your resource bar now. Like, you don't really get enough heals back from it where she can kind of just run at you, and you don't have enough DR and like damage reduction to really do anything versus her. And if she does get low on health, she just transforms into an ice block and then gets her health back anyways, while your Take a Breather is on like a 10-second cooldown, and in that time you can usually end up just getting killed by her. So there's a lot of other, like, few other things too that I wouldn't say like are 100% checks, but like compared to what Hog was before post rework to where he is now after the rework, are actually somehow better checks to Hog than previously, which I think is really bad. Then we got his new ability, which is Pigpen. It's pretty much a trap, which I think is actually a really awful ability. I think this ability sucks. Like, that's the main thing about this. It's way too easy to destroy. It gets destroyed way too easy. It is way too visible. People see it too easily, and people are able to avoid it. I think the only thing that makes it actually decent is if you hook somebody like this and like pull them into it. That's the only time you can actually get any viability out of it, which is what they want, I guess. But like, apart from that, it's pretty much useless ability. It does decent damage. I think it's like 60 initially plus 30 over 2 seconds, I think. And it has a little bit of a slow effect, but it's not like a hard CC. You can still run away and get out of it with any type of movement ability, which is really bad. So, I don't know. I feel like I'd rather have his alternate fire to where I have longer damage ranges and be able to charge my ult at longer ranges and do damage at longer ranges than have a shitty trap that really doesn't do anything unless you combo it with a hook. And another thing is, like, your hook cooldown, is on a 6-second cooldown pretty much, but your trap cooldown is on a 12-second cooldown. So these two abilities, they do not mesh at all either, because the trap cooldown is 2 times the amount of cooldown that your hook is. I think they pretty much need to cut the ability, like for the trap, like the cooldown in half to actually make it at least viable, to be able to have a playstyle where you like hook people into the trap. And it's not even that good to begin with, so I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do that in the future. It's a really bad ability. It's not really even that good. Most things either live it because they have ways to get out of it, or they're able to dodge it somehow, or even break it before you're able to hook them into it most of the time. So it's just a really bad ability. I think the only thing you can really use it on it is like hooking tanks into it, and that's really the only thing you're really going to get value out of. A lot of the other stuff, like you can just use your hook just by itself and like pull them out of position, and most of the time you're able to get a bunch of damage on them, or even a kill that way without the trap, which is really bad. So I don't know. That's just what I'm saying right now. That's kind of just how it is right now. Overall, though, like, I think the only thing to take out of this, which I thought Hog was going to be killed, like they were going to kill his entire playstyle and like pretty much everything about him, like with the rework. The one thing I think that's the biggest positive of the Hog rework is actually he's still fun to play. Like, he still is fun to play, but I think the real main thing and the thing nobody's talking about is how they're trying to take a lot of the Overwatch 1 tanks that didn't really need any changes, and they're trying to transform them into a role of being a main tank when they were never designed to do so, and that's mainly because the game is 5v5 and 6v6. I think going forward, what they really need to do with with reworks. And even like the Hog rework, they could also revert this rework if they really wanted to. I think it would actually be more beneficial to just give the guy back his one shot, because at least for me and like the majority of Hog players, what we like to do on Hog is walk around and get kills. We don't want to be a main tank. That is what Hog is about. We are going around and we want to do damage and we want to get picks. That is what Hog has always been about, and that's what he's always been ever since he was put into the game. They first got rid of his one shot, then they nerfed the shit out of him to where he was probably one of the worst, top 3 worst tanks in the game up until now, and they got reworked. And now they're trying to force a rework onto him. Reworked him to try to make him fit into a main tank category and a main tank role that hopefully he's supposed to hold down an area a little bit better, which he doesn't really do any better at all. Unfortunately for them, which is a failure on the Rework's part and on Blizzard's part. And like they're trying to take a tank that was never meant to be designed for a main tank role, let alone for 5v5, and force them into like a narrow playstyle as a main tank, which I think is really bad. I really do. Same with a lot of the other reworks. Like, how many other heroes in the game are we going to rework? Like stuff like Sombra, Mei. Like, I'm assuming they'll probably end up reworking Hog again, probably down the line, like a year or two from now, if this doesn't go as planned. There's probably a few other heroes that are also due for reworks, which is what they said they're planning on looking at. They're going to probably rework or slightly rework some other heroes. At what point do you really think to where, with how much effort it actually takes to rework every hero, like multiple times over and over, why don't you just revert the game back to 6v6? Which I think is the major takeaway nobody's really talking about from this Hog rework. It goes to show you how fucking flawed 5v5 is as a format, and why it should have never ever been implemented into the game for Overwatch 2. The game should have stayed 6v6. 5v5 was one of the worst changes of all time to the entire Overwatch franchise. If you do not agree with me, then you are delusional, and I don't know what to tell you. I really do not. The evidence is there. There's multiple other things that also back that up. Just like a lot of the maps they took out of the game, and a lot of the other game modes that were way better for 6v6, but they couldn't find any way to implement for the current 5v5 like playstyle currently. So if this game was 6v6, they would never had to rework Hog, and I don't think they would have even really reworked Sombra as much as they did, or at least they wouldn't have reworked her like already like 3 or 4 times over again. She's probably going to get reworked again. I wouldn't be surprised if she does. I really don't, because she is absolutely fucking busted in lower tiers of play, but like in your higher tiers, she is kind of bad. So I don't know. Same with Mei. I don't know how many times they're going to like rework Mei and like change how her primary fireworks and a bunch of other stuff. I think that's just the main takeaway to a lot of stuff. I don't know. Revert the game back to 6v6. Hashtag revert to 6v6 in the comments down below. I don't know about you guys, but I want the game to go back to 6v6. That's all this rework really showed everybody, is the game was better in a 6v6 than a 5v5. Mainly because now they're at the point where they're reworking tanks to try to fit them into a 5v5 playstyle. And it would just be way easier to either keep them the way they are, so they at least have a decent niche, what they were usually doing, which was Hog being like a damage tank going around and getting kills, and playing off his abilities and landing skill shots with a hook, and being able to self-heal himself as his own like hybrid like self-tank pretty much, alongside another tank that'd be able to play the rock, paper, scissors war in 6v6 and always be swapping. Apart from that, like getting rid of that and then pretty much trying to force the guy into a main tank playstyle, and then giving him a random trap that pretty much does nothing, that's supposed to combo with his hook, when he didn't really even need this. A lot of people say, well, they gave him a trap to combo with his hook and combo with his abilities better. Like, I don't know why anybody would really need a trap, let alone want this ability, when all you really need to do with the hook is actually pull somebody out of position, or just pull somebody off the map, or pull somebody into your team and let your team actually follow up on it. He never needed something else to follow up on it. That's why pulling him out of position and like letting your team pretty much follow up on your hooks, which is what you're supposed to do as a tank, at least for 5v5. 6v6 it was different because he was way different back then, but at least what they're wanting us to do in 5v5, being that he's the only tank on the team now, that's what you're supposed to do. You didn't really need a trap. It's kind of worthless. It's kind of a worthless ability. It doesn't really make sense. I don't know. Like, it ain't bad. Like, it's there. You can combo with it and everything, but I don't know. It's just not that good. I really want his primary or his secondary fire back because I feel like now he's just pretty much useless at like medium to long range. And he just gets shit on by so much stuff. Same with like his counters, like a lot of his counters, like I talked about a little bit ago, like a lot of his counters got better. You have no checks for Reaper at all now. Reaper pretty much just eats you alive. Ana pretty much wins every single 1v1 versus you. The only time she does not win a 1v1 is if she somehow misses an anti-nade or she somehow misses a sleep dart, which is really, really uncommon. It is pretty much impossible to miss sleep darts on Hog with how big his hitbox is, and especially anti-nades. If you get hit by one, even let alone both of those, you're guaranteed dead no matter what. That is just kind of what it comes down to. There's also a lot of other tanks in the game that also do a lot better versus him because he doesn't have really as much like medium to long range damage, so they're able to like do more damage at like medium to long range and kind of poke you out and kind of farm you that way. Stuff like Sigma, and there's a few other tanks in the game that do better at like medium ranges than you do now. I don't know. I think the only tank that actually got like you have like a better matchup into is like D.Va, just mainly because with like your shotgun spread, like with this spread right here, you pretty much land like the majority of your spread is guaranteed headshots on her, so you're doing a lot of damage. But apart from that, I think all the other tank matchups in the game are pretty much the same, if not worse. I don't think like any tank matchups for him has really changed after the rework. Same with supports. Like I don't think like any of the support reworks or like any of the support like matchups have gotten really any better. I think they've actually gotten worse for him, if I'm being 100% honest. I think the only ones that maybe got a little bit better are like Life Weaver and a few other ones. If you're able to like combo a hook with a pigpen trap, you can maybe kill him that way. But they also have a lot of mobility and they also have a lot of self-healing. So a lot of them can just easily get away from you. So that's another downside. So I don't think like at least any support matchups in the game have really gotten much better. If anything, they're the same, if not worse, just because Ana just is even better versus you now with your take a breather changes. And then for the DPS, like a lot of the DPS as well, like you have no medium to long range damage anymore. So like a lot of the longer range damage heroes in the game, like Pharah, Echo from range, like medium to long range, Ashe, McCree, Soldier, and like a lot of those heroes, like before you'd be able to at least poke them out with some damage at like medium to long range with your secondary fire. You can no longer really do that now, so they're able to just kind of farm you from range with damage. So if anything, I think he's actually worse versus like the majority of the DPS in the game. I really do. There's a few he's better against if you can like combo it with like a trap and then a hook combo to kill him, but that's if they don't run away, and that's if they don't get any healings, and like the stars have to align to be able to do that, if you can like single them out. And then there's like a few good matchups that you always had that were really decent, even before the rework, that are still decent. Like you're really good into Junkrat and like Symmetra. Like you can kind of one-shot Symmetra if you hook her as well, and there's a few other ones that have like hitboxes to where it lines up really well, especially with like your new shotgun spread to where you're able to do a lot of damage at close range. But apart from that, not really much has really changed. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys want the game to be reverted back to 6v6, because at this point, like, I don't know what they're really thinking going with the reworks going forward, like with how they're reworking a lot of the heroes in the game. I think at this point, with how much time they're wasting on reworks and the reworks not really doing anything, I think they were better off just going back to 6v6 at this point. I really am. I don't know how the game is still 5v5. I really do not know. Bring back 6v6. If there is anything from this video to take away and the reworks, it is pretty much that the game needs to be reverted back to 6v6. That's pretty much the main thing. Because the reworks have done nothing, and they're trying to kind of like force reworks on this shit now. And don't get me wrong, like this rework wasn't really an absolute failure, but at the same time, nothing with Hog's really changed to where like he is incredibly different to where they he's better for 5v5 or like that type of thing. And if anything, they kind of took him out more of what his playstyle should be and try to force him into a main tank playstyle, even though they kind of failed. I don't know. I just feel like they're kind of wasting their time and they should be reverting the game back to 6v6. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you guys think of the Hog rework? Let me know what you guys think. I don't know about you guys. There's going to be somebody, oh, you're just a sweaty Hog player. You shouldn't be able to have an opinion. If they balance the game around the Hog players, the game would be awful, blah, blah, blah. I've been playing Hog since, like, I started playing the game in Overwatch 1 back in, like, 2018. I've been to top 500 pretty much playing Hog solo. Climbed my way to top 500 solo, by the way, by playing Hog in Overwatch 1. And he's also the tank that I have the most hours on out of any single tank in the game, apart from, like, D.Va. And even then, like, her hours, I don't even have nearly as much time on D.Va than I do as Hog overall. So, I don't know. If there's anybody that would give you, like, an opinion on Hog, it would probably be me. It really would. I don't think there's, like, many other people that have as, like, amount of time on Hog as I do. Especially on the Nintendo Switch. Maybe on different platforms, but especially on the Switch. I don't know any other, like, Switch players that actually play the game that have the amount of time that I do on Roadhog. Really don't. So, like I said, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Apart from that, it's kind of more of a discussion video. I'll probably throw some gameplay or something in the background throughout this, kind of showing some examples and some gameplay of the new rework and kind of how it goes, and as well, and that type of thing. But overall, like, I wouldn't say the rework's really a success, let alone a failure. Like, if anything, I don't think anything's really changed. I think they're kind of trying to force Hog into a playstyle and into a role, and they kind of didn't really succeed, but at the same time, they didn't really ruin the character, which is really good. He's still fun to play, but I think he's just a lot worse than he was somehow. Kind of weird, but leave a like, subscribe, share the video. I also do stream over here. I also stream Overwatch over here, usually on Friday and Saturday nights. I also stream over on Twitch on Sunday nights. So if you guys want to go follow me over there, there's a link down below. If you guys do not want to miss any of my new videos or when I'm live, subscribe over here. That'd be great. Apart from that, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out, everybody.